paints your noose like an old man. He's got you thinking about your death and you are frightened.
Hi to everyone from Poisonedrock. I'm Ada, and today with us there is Mike LePond from Symphony X, bass player. Hi, Mike. How are you? First of all.
Oh, I'm doing very well, and thank you so much for the interview. I'm looking forward to talking to you.
I'm so glad to hear it. First of all, I want to ask you just an easy question, speaking about a little bit of Symphony X.
Okay. Well, Symphony X, we were planning to do some tours in 2020, and then, we got hit with the virus, so we put all our plans on hold, and we moved the touring to 2021. Now, as far as a new album, I think as soon as the virus stuff passes by and goes away, I think we'll start getting together and we'll start writing songs. And I'm looking forward to writing songs because, as you probably know, we haven't done an album since 2015.
So I think that the fans really wait a return of Symphony X.
Yeah, the way we work is we're not the type of band that puts out an album every year, because for us the albums take so much work, and we really want to try to make every song as great as possible. So a lot of times our fans, they get upset because we put out albums every 5 years. But once we do put the album out,
it's a success.
People are happy.
Yes.
And when we play in Italy,
people are crazy because there was once a band, still I think they are playing Rhapsody of Fire, that are like they were inspired by Symphony X. So yeah, one of the main bands of Italy take inspiration from you.
Yeah. I love Rhapsody. I love Rhapsody of Fire. Amazing classical melodies in their music. The orchestration is incredible, and I really admire them.
Yes. So I wanted to ask you, how was joining the band after Thomas Miller?
Well, when I first joined the band, I could give you a quick story of how I got in the band. I was
that's nice.
Sure. I was just a local musician. I live here in the U.S. in the New York, New Jersey area, and I was just a struggling musician, and I never thought I would get anywhere in music. And but all of a sudden, a friend of mine knew Michael Romeo, and he said, "Hey, Symphony X is looking for a bass player. Would you be interested in playing with them?" And I didn't know too much about Symphony X in 1999, so I said, "Sure, I'll give it a try." But when Michael Romeo sent me the music, I couldn't believe how good it was. It was not only good, it was so hard to play. So I was very intimidated, but I was determined to do it because I wanted to be a rock and roll star. So I practiced really hard, and I went to the audition, and honestly, I didn't think I would make it, to be honest, but I worked really hard, and then I was lucky enough to get the job. And my first gig, yeah, and then my first gig with Symphony X was in Brazil in front of 1,000 people, and it was like a storybook. So when I joined the band, it took a while for fans to get used to me. I mean, every time there's a new musician in a band, the fans they don't really like it at first. They always want the original, and I understand that because I'm the same way. But but now the more I was in the band, the more people liked me, and now I have a love affair with the fans. I love all the fans. I love the bands. I love the music.
That's amazing. And one of the first records that you recorded with them was the Mythology Sweet. You think that your sound brought new ideas into the composing of this album and the following?
Well, I think my style was a little bit different than Thomas Miller. Thomas Miller was a very precise, very technical player, and I came more from a blues, hard rock kind of sound. That's where I learned. So my style was a little bit different in the band, but I think it worked nice because the music was so technically challenging, but it still had some rock and roll blues in there, and so I think I was happy with the way my sound added to the band.
That's amazing how a blues and hard rock could influence a progressive sound, especially the technical ones, because when you play hard rock, it's more played by the heart, and you don't pay attention to the technique. And that's amazing because this means you bring a lot of your skin to that. That's a really an amazing, yeah. So also in Paradise Lost, the band changed a little bit the style. Which is the difference between Odyssey and Paradise Lost?
Well, I think Odyssey, when I think about the Odyssey, I think it was a bridge between the old classical sound. We had a very neoclassical sound in the beginning, and I think the Odyssey was like the bridge, and then we walked over the bridge, and then we did Paradise Lost, which was more of like the power metal.
Yeah.
So with Paradise Lost onward, I think our sound became more of a power metal sound. Now, a lot of our old fans did not like that, but that's just the way we wanted to sound at the time. And so I think Paradise Lost is one of my favorite albums, so I'm very proud of that. Yeah.
That's amazing. And how does it feel to be in one of the most, just say the most, because in Europe we saw like that, most influenced band in progressive power metal. I mean, it's a pillar of the power metal.
It's all I could say is, it's a blessing from God. I'm so lucky and I'm so proud to be a part of this band. We really never thought we would be so influential until we got to once we got I'd say the Iconoclast record, we saw that there were many bands that were starting to sound like us. And it's such a great compliment, and it makes you feel so good that other bands will listen to you and incorporate your sound into what you do. So, so we'll pass the torch to the next band and go for it,
Yeah, in fact, I wanted to ask you about Econocast and Underworld, because you are your last work, and I wanted to ask you something about that and the difference between them.
Okay. Well, Iconoclast, for some reason, we wrote a lot of songs for Iconoclast. We didn't feel it was complete until we wrote all these songs, so it became a total album. I think Iconoclast is the heaviest thing we ever did, and I think it was the best playing that we ever did, the hardest playing. It was like the heaviest, the most technical, and then we went from there. We jumped all the way back to Underworld. Now, Underworld, for me, I think is a combination of everything we've ever done.
Yes.
It has some real heavy stuff. It has some classical stuff. It has some of that progressive stuff that we've done. And we really were so proud of Underworld. And we were hoping that Underworld was going to make us, go to the top, But, we're really happy. And so, I mean, two really different kind of albums.
Yeah.
But still very Symphony X.
Yes, and personally, what do you think about their previous work before you joined the band?
Oh, there were the songs before I joined, the albums.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Symphony X.
Yeah, well, I listened to I had to learn a lot of those songs for the tours, right? So
Sure,
I got to listen to a lot of those albums. For me, they were very, very, they had a lot of different styles. It was kind of like if you could take Yngwie Malmsteen and Kansas and
Kansas.
Yeah, I think it was like Yngwie Malmsteen meets Kansas. Kind of
amazing. This comparison is amazing.
And it was really unique music.
Yeah.
The vocals were just incredible vocals, incredible guitar playing, and I love a lot of those songs. There's a lot of songs that we never play live from those albums that I would love to play.
That's amazing. And I was working with Michael Romeo and Russell Allen that are also solo musicians.
Yeah.
They have also solo career. So as you were speaking before, I guess that you have two. So let's speak also about it too.
Yeah. I mean, Symphony X is not always on the road, so we need to keep working. So sometimes Russell will do other things. Sometimes Michael Romeo put out an amazing solo album last year or 2 years ago. I'm not 100% sure. Now, what I've been doing since 2014, I've put out 3 solo albums. The name of the band is called Mike LePond's Silent Assassins.
Michael LePond's Silent Assassins.
So there's and the sound of the albums it's more like classic power metal with some folk in there, some folky metal.
Oh, it's really impressive.
Right, so it's different than Symphony X, which is good. You don't want to sound like the band.
No, of course. It's more like your project.
It's a lot of the influences that influenced me growing up.
Yeah.
The Judas Priest and the Iron Maiden and the Black Sabbath. So it's that stuff. So I just put out my 3rd solo album in June. I would love for you and your fans to check it out.
Oh, for sure. And I want to ask, of course, you speak about your influences, and what about the influences for Symphony X?
That's a very good question. When I listen to Symphony X, let's go back a little bit. Before I joined Symphony X, the only progressive influences that I had was I loved Rush. I loved Geddy Lee and Rush. And I listened to a little bit of Yes, but I really wasn't prepared for what Symphony X was doing. So I had to really practice hard. But I think from being such a fan of Rush, and also Michael Romeo is such a fan of Rush, that I was able to kind of put that influence into Symphony X. But I would also throw my little Black Sabbath blues lines in there, and so I just did a little bit of everything. You know, it was more of I would just play harder and give it some more, power.
Yes, and what makes different Symphony X from the other bands in the metal scenario?
I think what makes us different is we could play a show with a progressive band. We could play a show with a power metal band, and our music crosses over everywhere. So we have so much. Michael Romeo listens to so much, and he's so good. He could make us, sound like everything that's out there.
That's amazing, because this means that he could play basically with any band that there is in that scenario. That's amazing. And we were speaking about before your solo project. Now I wanted to ask you also about the project with the Ross Boss, the band. How is playing with him, with the legend of like him?
Well, this is very interesting because, when I was growing up, Manowar was one of my favorite bands, and I used to listen. I used to study Joey DeMeo's bass lines, and I used to shut the door in my room, and I used to play along with Manowar. And now, all these years later, I'm playing, and then I look over on the stage, and there's Ross the Boss. So it's he's always been one of my heroes, and it's an honor to be on the stage with Ross. He not only is he one of the most well-known metal guitar players, but he's also a dear friend, and he's like an older brother to me. I've been with him for a long time, and it's always great playing with Ross. And it's such a different thing than Symphony X. The sounds are totally different, and it's so much fun.
In fact, this is because when you play power metal and then you went to another type like hard rock, heavy metal, that this is amazing, because this means being a versatile musician. You can do you can play everything. This is for me as a fan to see when a musician is really doing his job for good.
Yeah. And I learned so much. I learned from Symphony X, and I learned from Ross and whoever.
Yeah. And if you should, for example, advise a song of Symphony X to the guys that still maybe don't know Symphony X, just the newbie fans, which will they be? And also a song from Michael LePond.
Okay.
Of course, now I want to know also do.
Let's see, if that's a really cool question. If I wanted someone to listen to Symphony X, what would I play? I would do. All right, let's see. I'll just take a few seconds to.
Yeah, don't worry.
Well, I mean, I would probably say I would make them listen to Of Sins and Shadows off the Divine Wings of Tragedy album. But I would also say you should listen to a ballad too, ballads like Paradise Lost or something. Now, Mike LePond's Silent Assassins, since we're like an old school kind of style, I would probably say to listen to a song called Ides of March.
I swear.
As an Italian, you probably know the Ides of March.
Yes, yes, of course. Indeed, you must. Yes, for sure. For sure, that's amazing. And now this is a funny question. If you had to choose the chance to organize a tour, which band will you bring with you?
Oh, so if Symphony X was going to tour, who would we
Or
bring?
just you?
Or just me, right?
Yeah, it's more personal.
Yeah. Who would I'd like to tour with? Oh man, well, of course I would love to tour with one of my hero bands. Um, I already got Ross, so I have to find another one. I would love to. God, I would love to play with Iron Maiden.
And it's man the
Oh,
gold, the gold.
open up for Iron Maiden would be incredible.
And 5 albums or song or artists that influenced you, Michael. I mean, just as a human being. I mean, during all your life,
Some albums that have influenced me.
album, artists,
Oh yeah.
singer, songs.
Yeah, I mean, some albums and bands that have influenced me were definitely. Well, we've already mentioned the Priest, the Sabbath, the Maiden, the Manowar, but also Motorhead, big influence.
Yeah,
Um,
rest in peace.
oh yeah, what amazing. Another band that really influenced my writing, I would say, um, the band Exciter from Canada.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah.
Big influence. I loved what they were doing. Um, and I would say probably Saxon.
Amazing. I love Saxon too. That's amazing. And what are the future plans of Symphony X right now?
Well, after the pandemic goes away,
Yeah,
um, we're going to start getting together and we'll start writing songs for another album.
that's amazing. I'll be up to listen to album soon. Before ending the interview and leaving a message to your fan and our followers, the question were written by me and my friend, and of course I wanted just you just to say hi to him. His name is Domenico. So
Hello,
just
Franco.
okay. So now there is just a message for your fan and our follower.
Well, to everybody out there who's followed my career for like the last 20 years, thank you so much, because the only reason I'm here is because you guys support me. So thank you so much for all your support. I love playing in Italy. My ancestors come from Italy,
That's
and
amazing.
I've loved playing there. I love meeting all you guys. So Symphony X will be back in Italy at some point.
We really hope so.
We can promise you that, and we will see you soon.
So thank you so much, Michael, for this interview. It was really a pleasure to meet you, and hope to see you in some gig. I really hope, because we are planning a gigs with an American singer, Leather Leone, and
She's a friend of mine.
yeah, she told me, and she dreamed to play to Ross, saying, "Oh, I want to play with Ross." Yeah, we are really close, and I love her because she's like and I don't know, and hurricane. She's a lot of strength. This woman.
Yeah.
And I'm planning a tour for 2021 with her in Europe. Yeah.
Great. Oh, that's so nice. I'm so happy for her. That's great. Yeah, that's great. Well,
That's the best voice I ever heard in a woman. Yes.
she's got some power, right?
She has all the female power in the world. Yeah, she's for me as a woman, she is like an inspiration, and she really is what metal should be for a woman.
I agree. 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
very good.
So thank you so much, and hope to see you soon then, Michael.
Okay, Ada, we'll talk soon.
Bye.
Bye now.
You can't refuse what the old man whispered to the preacher.